This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
What's up? This your boy, Psycho Boy Fodder. And right now you're tuned in to Wrestling with Entertainment. Let's go.
Hello, and welcome to the show where it's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with Psycho Boy Fodder.
What's up? Thanks for having me on the show. Follow me at LOKEYS910 on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and make sure you check out all the free matches on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/psychoboyfodder. How's it going, man?
I am good. How are you today?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show.
And where can we find your merchandise as well?
You can log on to psycholoveWrestling.bigcartel.com. We got new autographed 8x10s, new t-shirts, stickers, anything you can think of. We got it on there for anybody that wants to support the Psycho Love brand.
And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for the NWA. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company and Billy Corgan?
Yeah, NWA's always been great. Billy Corgan, was nice enough to see talent in me and bring me on to do many programs with the NWA. I love the talent there, and I love all the programs that I've been in there, while I've been there so far. Working with Tom Latimer, Camille, EC3, Ricky Morton, Kerry Morton. I mean, there's a lot of good talent at the NWA, and it's a great place to learn how to work television, and you get to work a lot of good guys there, the Chris Masters and the Murdochs, all those guys as well, man. So it's definitely been a great opportunity for me.
Now, most recently, you wrestled EC3 for the 10 pounds of gold. Obviously there's not many titles that are more prestigious than the NWA title. So what did it kind of mean to you to compete for that title?
Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know that, EC3 was kind of part of getting me in the wrestling business. He was kind of a mentor of mine, and, he kind of guided and coached me along the way, gave me a lot of opportunities early on into my wrestling career. I mean, I've been working matches for probably about 3.5 years. And, through him, I met a lot of other very well-known TV personalities that were on TV. And, just being able to work really good guys all the time allowed me to kind of develop my skill set in the ring and kind of progress really fast to, go from kind of just starting, right into like working on television. As far as like the match with EC3, that kind of came about because, sometimes the student will challenge the teacher, and we were having a 6-man tag or 6-person tag at the WrestleCade Super Show. Me, my wife, Angelina Love, EC3 on one side, Matt Cardona, Steph DeLander, Brad Attitude on the other side. And in that match, I grabbed the belt and I kind of cracked EC3 with the belt and put him down. And then the next day we wrestled at the AML Wrestling Super Show for the 10 pounds of gold. Great match. Very special to me because I got to work the guy who basically kind of helped get me in the wrestling business. And then we got to do it again a week later. So we kind of wrestled 2 times for the NWA World Title in a week. We did the AML Super Show, and then right after that we did the NWA Exodus Pro, which is part of the new NWA territory system. And we main evented the Cleveland show in a street fight for the 10 pounds of gold there.
And what did it kind of mean? Like I said, it's one of the most prestigious titles. What did it mean to you to compete for that title?
Well, obviously it means a lot, right? Because it means that the company is trusting you and putting you in a position or a main event position to wrestle for a title that's been held by, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. The names and the lineage behind the belt it speaks for itself, right? So
right.
For me to do that early on in my career and just even to do it period, certainly means a lot to me.
And you mentioned it, EC3, a big proponent of your career. I do believe that you did have a one-on-one match with him early on in your career. So how did you what changes and differences did you see in yourself, this time around that you didn't in the beginning when you first wrestled him?
I think it's just experience, right? So EC3 was one of the first actual TV wrestlers that I ever got to wrestle. When EC3 first got released from WWE, we shot that it's kind of like a cinematic wrestling fight type thing that we shot, and that got used on TNA. And then I did wrestle him on an indie when I was doing a different gimmick. And I think just, doing a match like that, I always tell guys that you can train and you can train and you can train for professional wrestling. But where you learn the most at is when you work guys that are much, much better than you. That's where you do all the learning at, right? So, you could learn more working a 10-minute match with a guy like a John Schuyler or a guy like Moose or a guy like Ace Austin, Heath, whoever, who have 10 or 15 years of experience. You can learn more doing a 10-minute match with one of those guys in front of a live audience than you can learn in 6 or 8 months of training, because the things that you're learning are you're learning pace, you're learning how to slow down, you're learning how to work the crowd. And when these guys can kind of coach you during a match and kind of walk you through it, you kind of start to get a feel of how and when things are supposed to happen, and getting that getting that juice from the crowd to know when you're supposed to do things, or to not know when to know when you're not supposed to do things. So my progress is just from then to us working for the title 2 times in a week. It was basically I guess the only way I could put it was like a student kind of coming up to the level of where you're working on television. And now I'm kind of having that kind of same thing going on with myself, where I'm working guys that are 8 months into the business, and I'm leading and coaching them through matches and showing them things. So it's definitely a good experience for sure.
Now, the cinematic match you mentioned, that was EC3 versus Moose from Bound for Glory, right?
No, this was actually one. This was actually the original one that was aired. If you go on YouTube, I think you can type in EC3 Free the Narrative or EC3 The Narrative, and the first one should pop up. So it's kind of I think it's like a 15-minute. It's like a kind of like a 15-minute cinematic experience, right? Where it starts with EC3 kind of like making his way to, this garage area that's got the ring, and then
Yeah.
like me challenging EC3 and us doing our fight. And then the second half of that is Moose doing the cinematic fight. The one that was with Moose was actually shot for TNA, but they didn't use it. They wanted to do their own version of it. So personally, I mean, I think the one that was shot by us was definitely the money ticket one, and you can check that out on your own time and kind of make that decision for yourself.
Oh yeah. Now, keeping up on, the incredible things you've been doing with NWA, you competed in the Crocket Cup, one of the most prestigious tag team tournaments, with Flip Gordon.
Yes.
What did that kind of mean to you, and what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, that experience was a big whirlwind because we got to, Flip is my boy. I mean, me and him traveled together. We did a lot of the Control Your Narrative shows together when we were doing the Control Your Narrative live tour. And, man, Flip, he's so good. And I think just our styles in the ring mesh really well together because I do a lot of hard-hitting, I think my style is more like a hard-hitting, brawling type style,
Right.
with some wrestling in it. Whereas like Flip style is like lots of flips, lots of cool moves. So the double team stuff that we came up with when we were kind of batting around some ideas came off very well on camera. And that night we actually had the first match against Math and Donovan, where we won that match. And then we were in the main event for night one for the Crocket Cup against La Rebellion. And a little story about that is in the first match, I had partially tore my calf.
Ooh.
And it happened like very early on in the match. There was just like a tackle spot where Sean Donovan hit me with a tackle, and then I got up, mushed him. He threw a clothesline. I ducked, and then right when I pivoted to kick him, it just kind of felt like somebody had a bag of quarters and just smashed me in the back of the calf with them. And we, I mean, I guess just moving on adrenaline, when you're out there, I mean, you're on live television, so you kind of like can't stop. I mean, unless you just absolutely can't go. I didn't know if it was tore or if I just pulled something or what. So we ended up getting through the match. And then when I got to the back, man, I mean, I could not even walk. So Corgan kind of came out of the truck and he was talking to me, and Medusa was the agent on the match, and she was there with us, and we were kind of all huddled around, and they were like, man, like, do you think you can do anything? And I was like, I don't even know if I can walk. So we're kind of playing it by ear, right? Because we knew obviously the main event was going to change. So I had suggested that maybe Flip does the match by himself, and then the commentators can put over on the program that I had got hurt. And then Corgan suggested, he said, do you think you can limp out there? And I said, well, we can wrap it up and see what happens. And I kind of just stayed on it, kind of hobbling around. And then we kind of came up with a spot where there would be like a double down in the match. And I would basically come out during the double down. That would get some reaction from the crowd. And then I would get up there and take a hot tag for Flip and come in and kind of bump around Bestia and Mecha Wolf. And then we'd get to kind of a kendo stick spot. And then Vampiro would come in and chokeslam Flip and hit me with the super kick. And then, Mecha Wolf and them could move on. But that match really didn't get ironed out until about the finish of the match really didn't get ironed out until about 10 minutes before we went out there. So it was a very, very hectic time for sure.
I could imagine. But
yeah.
Is there plans to reunite Flip and Psycho?
I mean, that may happen in the future sometime. I mean, Flip's in Mexico working for CMLL right now. So, I mean, that could happen on like some indies, like some of the bigger indies, like maybe me and him might do some stuff. I mean, he did just message me about 2 weeks ago when we were talking, and he was like, man, he's like, do you think maybe we could do some more tag stuff. He's like, I think that'd be cool. And I mean, I told him I was down for it like whenever. So that could be definitely a possibility in the future.
Fodder and Flip take Mexico?
I would definitely go down to Mexico and work CMLL. It's a little bit of a different style than what I do, but I mean, I can kind of adapt to, the lucha style of wrestling. I just kind of like let the guys do all their cool stuff around me and just kind of be there for them.
Well, another big name, respected name you wrestled was one Ricky Morton. What was that experience like wrestling, an absolute legend?
Man, Ricky Morton is, he's probably one of the most important people to my wrestling career for sure. Ricky Morton, I worked him on an indie. And we kind of just did like a really easy match, I mean, like it was nothing crazy. And I mean, me and him just kind of hit it off and became really good friends. I mean, Ricky Morton was in my wedding. I mean, he was in my wedding party at the wedding. Me and his son are really tight. Me and Carrie talk all the time. And Ricky was a big proponent of me going to work at NWA. He really pushed to have me there and wanted me to have a job there. So, I mean, I owe a lot to Ricky Morton. And anytime you wrestle a legend, I mean, Ricky Morton, man, he's one half of the greatest tag team that ever existed, man. So, wrestling him is like, I mean, dude, I mean, I used to watch Ricky Morton on Sunday Night Heat on WWF, so, to have a guy like that, in my life, where I can text him, he texts me, I mean, that's certainly a blessing too, for sure.
Now you mentioned, Ricky was in your wedding party. So, can you tell us what the advantages and disadvantages of teaming up with your significant other?
No disadvantages. Only advantages, because we know what each other are thinking at all times, and we always got each other's back. So if there are people looking to take us on, we accept all comers and we handle them as they come. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we'll definitely be doing some work this Sunday. I'm wrestling Dirty Dango. I'm the RWA heavyweight champion, and he's coming down to do a little dance with me for the championship there on Sunday, and she'll be by my side during that match. And then on March 30th, I'll be working Redbeard, and she'll be there for that. So, I mean, we'll see how these guys fare when they go up against the Psycho Boy.
Now we're going back to Ricky Morton. From what I've heard, he actually maybe made an attempt to steal you away from Angelina.
I didn't hear that, but if he did, I mean, listen, I can't blame him. I can't blame him at all.
Well, I believe this was prior to you getting into NWA. You wrestled on AEW Dark. What was that experience like?
Oh, I mean, AEW is great, man. I mean, I know tons of brothers that work over there, and right after me and Braun Strowman and EC3 and Weston Blake had did the invasion angle at the Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view, AEW had reached out to me about coming and doing a few shots with the company. And, I mean, they're very hospitable, always treated me great, gave me good matches. I mean, let me work with some great talent over there, man. And, I got no complaints at all, man. I mean, I would definitely, go back and, work for them at any time should the opportunity ever present itself.
I mean, after the match, is anybody coming up to you giving you advice?
I mean, like, I talked to Jerry Lynn a lot there.
Oh, yeah.
And Jerry Lynn is always full of advice, you know what I mean? So, and I don't know so much as like that people were coming up to me as like, I just kind of seek out advice, like, I want to know what a Jerry Lynn or, an Arn Anderson, Arn Anderson, I trained a lot with his son, Brock. So anytime you can get advice from these guys who have been doing it forever and were very good at doing what they were doing in the ring, that is always an opportunity that you should take, because there's always things, even if it's not feedback about my match, that we might talk about, where you can learn and grow from that opportunity to talk to these guys. So both of those guys, great people, great, great advice givers, and anybody should be watching tape on those guys and see what they can learn from them if they don't have the opportunity to talk to them.
And I mean, the real question is, how is the catering at AEW?
Top notch, 10 out of 10. That is for sure. 10 out of 10 on the catering.
Now, you're doing, you're in there with legends, you're competing for championships, you're doing all these incredible things. Are these moments you kind of take in the moment, or is it something that kind of sets in afterwards, like, wow, I did this?
Far after. I mean, the thing about wrestling, and I would say this with really any occupation that you have, wrestling is a we're doing it right now thing. So I'm focused on what we have to do right now, this day for this match on whatever program it's on. And then, a lot of times it's like, say like me and like Latimer, like we have the kendo stick match on pay-per-view. I mean, we do it. I can watch it back, pick it apart and say like, oh man, like this looks great, or, maybe I could have done this a little bit better or whatever. But then you got to figure it's like we're doing the pay-per-view in Tampa on Saturday night, and then like Sunday we're doing TV tapings, and then Monday we're doing TV tapings, right? So there's a lot of times where you're doing things, but everything is happening so fast and you're just on to the next thing that you really don't have a chance or a time to reflect until further down the road.
I got you. And I mean, you mentioned the match with Latimer. That was actually the opener of the show. Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah. What a rib that was.
well, I mean, that is arguably the highest compliment you could get in pro wrestling is start the show. So what did that kind of mean to you?
Oh, it was great. I mean, like, I was at the hotel and we came downstairs, and like the same night, my wife was working Camille in the no DQ match, and we came downstairs and I saw Kerry Morton, and Kerry was like, oh, they're probably gonna have you first tonight, and I was like, oh, you're joking, like whatever. And then once we got to the building, I saw Latimer, and then I saw the run sheet, and I was like, we're going first, and he was like, yep, got to start it off hot. So it was definitely cool to go first. It's always great to go first, dude, because then you're done, and you can just sit down and you can chill and you can watch the rest of the show. But it's like, man, when you're I always tell this, right? It's like when you first get in the wrestling business, you want to be the main event, right?
Right.
Because like you're the main event, and but like now, a lot of times, like when I'm working shows, like I'm the main event on the show, and like you get there at 2:00 and the show starts at 4, and the main event's not going on until 6:30, and you're just like, oh man, like I wish I was first, because then I would be done by now. So a lot of times you want to get done, because it's easier on the mind, like when you're done, and when you're the main event, you're always going last. So you're just hanging around and hanging around and hanging around all day until it's your time to go on. So it's like a yin and a yang.
No, I completely get that. We had somebody on, and he was wrestling at like this festival, and he arrived at like 8 a.m. He was the main event that night. The match went on at 6 p.m.
Yeah. So you're there for 10 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's a good time to take a nap, he said.
Exactly.
Going back to the Singapore cane match. The Sandman actually gave you a Singapore cane, right?
I do have a Singapore cane from the Sandman, signed by the Sandman. And I do have another Singapore cane that was used by the Sandman and signed by the Sandman, that I take to the ring with me all the time. That's the kendo stick I carry with me to the ring all the time. And then I actually met up with the Sandman at Blizzard Brawl this year. We were in Wisconsin together, and we were hanging out at the bar, and we were just talking, and he kind of gave me like the ultimate brother cosign on using the kendo stick, and kind of giving me like his blessing on that. So shout out to the Sandman.
I mean, when you think kendo sticks, you think the Sandman. So, what did that kind of mean to you to have that bestowed on you?
What's crazy is the me having the kendo stick was actually Billy Corgan's idea. So like we did the kendo stick match, and then Billy came to me and was like, I think you should just have the cane with you like all the time. That should just be your thing. Like you carry the cane and beat people with the cane. And I was like, all right. I was like, that sounds all right to me. And then how we ended up naming it the Psycho Stick was Joe Galley, the commentator, was hanging around, standing by us, and EC3 was kind of in and out of the conversation. And Joe Galley said, "What do you want to call the cane? You want to call it like a name or something?" And EC3 leaned over and said, "Call it the Psycho Stick." And I was, and Joe Galley was just like, "All right, Psycho Stick it is." And then they just started calling it the Psycho Stick on commentary, and it just, like, it worked and it fit and it sounded good. So it was just like, all right, well then I guess it's the Psycho Stick, So some things like in wrestling they just kind of come out of like joking around and stuff. And that was definitely one of the things that kind of came out of joking around.
Well, EC3 gave you Psycho Boy as well, no?
Yeah, well, he gave me the whole name. The name Fodder actually came as kind of like a joke too, because when we did the original, like movie fight scene when he got released from WWE, the one that aired on TNA, in the credits, if you go back and watch it, it'll say like starring EC3, and then it said like starring Merton Woolard, which is my government name, as the Fodder, which is kind of like, basically like the prey or whatever,
Right.
like because EC is kind of bumping me around or whatever. And then when we got into doing the Free the Narrative, like the full-fledged like films, like with Moose and Cardona and Matt Sydal and all those guys, he was like, I think we should just call you Fodder. He's like, I think that's just a good name. He was like, it sounds nuts. And I was just like, I don't know about that, man. He was like, we'll just call you like Psycho Boy Fodder. And I was like, all right. I mean, if that's what you want to do. And then like we just kind of started running with it, and then that just totally stuck, and it just worked. And then I started getting hit up because people and promotions were seeing me on the EC3 stuff, which is where they knew me from, and they were like, hey, like we want to book Psycho Boy to like come in. And I was just like, okay, like I guess this thing is like taking off, because I think the Psycho Boy is, it's easy to remember, and it just comes right off the tongue, right? And it's kind of like you got like Psycho Boy Fodder, and it's kind of the same thing with like Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? Like a lot of people don't call him Steve Austin, like everybody just calls him Stone Cold, right? So it's kind of like the same, like with Psycho Boy, like people just go like, it's Psycho Boy, So it's very easy to remember. It's catchy, and it's just one of those things that just worked,
It does beg the question, when will Psycho Boy become Psycho Man?
I don't think ever, man. I think the Psycho Boy is just always has to be the Psycho Boy. Silas Young from Ring of Honor. I worked him once, and he cut a promo on me, and he said something along those lines, like, "When will the Psycho Boy actually become a man? A real man like Silas Young."
Right.
So yeah, it's a good line from him for sure.
That sounds very Silas-esque.
Mm-hmm. Last real man. Silas is very good, very good brother, very good in the ring.
Oh yeah. Now you wrestled Al Snow, D'Lo Brown, and Doug Basham with Justin Jackson. Um, I mean, obviously three very well-known big names. What was
Sure.
that experience like?
That 10-man tag was total chaos. I think that was me, EC3, Jacob Fatu, Shira, and Luke Curtis against Cal Hero, D'Lo Brown, Doug Basham, Dustin. I think there was one more person on their team. I can't remember who the other guy was.
It was Justin Jackson, I believe.
Dustin, yeah, it was Dustin and there was somebody else on their team. I can't remember. But that match was total chaos. I mean, like, that was literally a match. It was the epitome of, like, we're just going to figure it out there. And it, like, that's exactly what we were doing. Like, I mean, there was, like, pretty much not anything called in the back before we went out there to do that. So it was a totally wild match. Very fun, though. I mean, fun. Blizzard Brawl is always a great show to work. Shout out to my man Dave Hero, who puts those shows on. He runs a GLCW in Wisconsin. Always packs it out. Great crowd. Fun match. I think everybody was happy with it. So yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's certainly wild, man, to be wrestling guys like from the Attitude Era and stuff like that.
Now you mentioned your appearance on Final Battle for Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Was that supposed to lead anything? Because that was a very odd time for Ring of Honor. Like they were almost going out of business at that time.
They were going out of business at that time for sure.
Yeah.
They were definitely the last show for Ring of Honor, and then Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. I think just like, the angle was pitched and we were going to do it and nobody really knew what was going to happen after that. But obviously, like, we were in preparation to start the Control Your Narrative live shows because we had Cross, we had Adam or Braun Strowman, we had Weston Blake, we had guys like Redbeard and Dango and all these different guys that had got let go from WWE. So the idea was like, yeah, like we're doing like the invasion angle on Ring of Honor, but it was really getting the Control Your Narrative name over, so that when the live shows got to running, we could be selling some serious tickets when we did, and all the live shows did very well. The only reason that the Control Your Narrative thing stopped is because when a lot of the guys that were being used on those shows ended up going back to WWE. I mean, it's like when WWE calls, I mean, you got to go back. I mean, that's just kind of like a no-brainer, right? So, for the time that we did have it, for about the year and a half that we were doing the stuff with it, I mean, we didn't have one show that did bad. I mean, every show drew very good crowds. And, I mean, when you have like somebody like Tony Khan, who's got like AEW, obviously he was bringing some talent over there. And then like, he bought Ring of Honor and some talent went over there. And then like some guys went back to WWE. So it's just one of those things where like, when you don't have the name power, the drawing power to sell tickets with, lots of well-known names, it's much harder to keep something like that going.
Right. All right. I think that brings us into Fodder's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Road story. Okay. This was recent. So me and EC3 did the street fight at NWA Exodus Pro It's on a Friday night in Cleveland. Show ends at 10:30. We're out of the building by 11:30. So in the van is me, EC3, Heath, Damian Sandow, my wife, and another guy who's driving. I can't remember his name. It's pouring rain, and it is 11:30 at night, and we're on the road to Wisconsin to do Blizzard Brawl the next day because all of us who are in the car are on the show. So we are in the car, and the guy driving the car is going like 95 miles an hour. And we're all kind of sitting there, and I'm kind of like watching the rain. The rain is like pouring down. And I'm watching this guy driving, and like, he's going 95 miles an hour. And granted, like, we're on like an expressway, freeway type joint or whatever. And my wife kind of grabbed me, and she was like, you see how this guy's driving? And I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I'm kind of freaked out. So I grabbed Damian Sandow's shoulder, and I was like, you watching this driving up here? And all of a sudden, he just hollers out, he goes, hey, my man. And the guy goes, what? He goes, you ever done this before? And he was like, done what? He goes, drive. And he goes, oh, yeah. I used to drive trucks for the military. And Damian Sandow goes, okay, I guess you know what you're doing. But, man, that whole ride was like 95 miles an hour in the rain. And I think we got to Wisconsin at 5 a.m. So we slept for like 4 or 5 hours and then got up, and then we were going to the building to do the show.
Yeah, I could imagine where that's a little bit scary.
Very stressful. Very stressful, man, because I was all the way in the back of the van, and I was just like, oh, shit. Like, if something goes wrong, I don't even know how I'm going to get out of this van.
Well, there was maybe another stressful time for you when you almost got arrested with EC3.
Yes, that was. Oh, where were we at? We were leaving Detroit from doing one of the Control Your Narrative shows, and we left Detroit. Same thing. EC3 loves to leave late at night. I don't know why, because we could just stay and just go to sleep and get up to go to the next morning. But we drive. Man, we were driving, and I remember we pulled into a hotel, and I was like, I think we should just get a hotel. And I went in, and it was like 3 a.m. And I remember I asked the guy how much the rooms were, and he said they were like $200 a night. And I was like, $200 a night for this dump? Like, it was like a total dump hotel. So I was like, man, I'll just keep going, man. So we keep going, man. And I just got so tired, I had to pull off. I think I pulled in like a Subway parking lot. And EC3's out. I kind of lay the seat back, and like a cop like pulls in, and he's like, the cops can like roll by you and like cut the top lights on the car.
Yeah.
And they're like going by the car real slow and like looking in, like trying to see like if there's anybody in there doing anything. So I just like kind of like did the fake sleep for like a little bit, and then he pulled off and left, and I was like, man. And I was like, no telling how this could have ended up if this guy was like knocking on the window, like trying to get us out of the car and all that crazy shit.
All right. Definitely some bizarre adventures.
No, for sure. No doubt.
Now, prior to pro wrestling, you were a bodybuilder, and quite competitive at the same time, no?
Yes. Yeah. I did competitive bodybuilding for about a decade. Bodybuilding is kind of its own thing. You know what I mean? It's a full-time. I mean, it's full-time dedication is what I'll say it is. So, that kind of helped, develop the physique that you see today. And I think, the physique was another thing that kind of helped propel me very quickly, in wrestling, because wrestling is a lot about how you look, too. So.
Was there anything you kind of learned through bodybuilding that kind of helped you through your wrestling career?
Discipline, total discipline. That's all bodybuilding is being disciplined. It's making sure you eat all your meals every day, making sure you do your cardio, just making sure you get the proper amount of sleep. I mean, it's everything. Weighing out your food, not cheating on your diet. I mean, bodybuilding teaches you the ultimate discipline, because the ultimate discipline in one of the most ultimate disciplines in life is when you can control what you put in your mouth to eat. And once I've always told people, like, once you can control what you eat and you have power over that, there's a lot of other things that you can mentally have power over, that can help you progress your life. So I always also tell people that I think everybody should do one bodybuilding show in their life, and stick to it and actually do it, because the lessons and discipline that it teaches you, you will hold on to those forever.
All right. Well, even prior to that, you were a rap artist, and you actually almost got signed, no?
Very true. Very true. I stopped doing music in 2012. I think I just got tired of it, man. It just kind of became a job. But through my music, I mean, I work with tons of guys in the music industry. I work with Mobb Deep, and I work with Killer Mike, and I work with French Montana, and Killer Callejon, Slim Thug. I mean, just lots of guys, man. I had a absolute blast doing music, performing at places like South by Southwest and the AC3 Festival, and that was its own journey in itself. I mean, that's where I learned how to promote myself, and kind of how to promote yourself as a product. And that's the same thing that you have to do with professional wrestling. Is you are a product, and you have to promote yourself as such.
Is that something that you ever consider going back to? Because, when you do music, it becomes a big part of your life, whether it's professionally or not.
I love music, and now I just enjoy music. But if I had to say going back to music while doing the wrestling, I would leave that up to my man John Cena. You know what I mean?
Thugonomics.
Thugonomics, baby. I let John Cena holds the crown. So there's no one up in John Cena on that. So I gotta let him take the reins to that and hold the claim to fame.
Now, was you writing your music, or was you just, singing what they gave you?
Oh no, I wrote all my own stuff.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I wrote all my own stuff.
Does, writing music in that sense kind of help you, when it comes to, promos?
No, man, my wife kind of taught me how to do really good promos, because she's like the promo queen. So a lot of learning how to do promos and be in full blown character. If you look at a lot of Psycho Boy Fodder material, there were far more promos, once me and my wife got together, because she kind of gave me the tools, to perfect promos and be in character and know how to use different octaves with your voice, and know how to work the camera when you're looking at the camera. So all of that is a credit to her, because she is the queen of promos.
Hell yeah. Now, can you tell us about your tattoos, and if there is any one that has significant meaning to you?
Oh, I mean, all of them. But I mean, basically, to simplify it, my left arm is my good arm, and my right arm is my bad arm. So those just kind of tell a story within themselves. The good arm, I have lots of stuff about, Christianity, my mom's name, my grandma, my sister, my family name, Jesus Christ on the cross, praying hands. The bad side, money, fast life, lots of that stuff, so definitely, a lot of art from different periods of my life, for sure.
Well, the one that really, stands out to me is the Mount Rushmore on your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about that one?
Mount Rushmore just signaled dead presidents, man. Just getting money, chasing money. kind of living that lifestyle at one point in time in my life. And, I don't regret any of my tattoos. All of my tattoos meant different things at different periods of my life, so, during that period of my life was a very hustle mentality. I still have the hustle mentality. I'm just hustling in different ways now. But just that hustle street mentality. And, obviously, it's like Wu-Tang, baby, cash rules everything around me. So, and I actually got that tattooed on me too. I got on my on my right arm, I got the Ben Franklin face with the cash rules everything around me around it, so like I say, just different time periods in my life, and all of them just represent different things that I was going through, or different mentalities that I've had throughout my life.
Which one was the longest to get?
The longest to get was my chest tattoo. Very long.
Hold on.
Hours to get that in.
Okay. And is there any ideas for new ink in the future?
No new ink. I stopped getting tattoos when I started doing bodybuilding shows, because the tattoos kind of take away from the detail in your physique. And the more tattoos you have, the harder it is for the judges to see the detail under the light. So luckily for me, none of the ones that I had, even though I had a full body of them, they didn't hinder my success in competing. But I chose not to get any more. One, because I got a full body already, but also because I didn't want to, at that time, take away from any of the placings when I was competing.
Well, is that a reason that you haven't gotten any more? Is like you're thinking about maybe going back to bodybuilding?
No, I think, man, after a while, after you stop getting them for a long time, they tend to hurt a lot more, and then you start you start saying like, well, I guess I don't think I really need that tattoo,
Fair enough.
So I think I think the tats I got now, they'll probably be the ones I stick with from here on out. I don't know if I'll get any new ones.
All right. Now it's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
The first 3 songs?
Yes.
Natalie Merchant, Carnival.
Okay.
I would have Rocky, Training Montage, and I would have Rocky, No Easy Way Out. I love those songs.
Alright. Solid 3 picks there. Now, now that we got the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack down first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who would play Fodder? And you can't say yourself because you are legally obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, man, who would play me? Oh, man, that's a good question. I'm not even sure, man, because, I don't watch a lot of movies, so I don't even know a lot of actors. But let's just say if I had to choose somebody who is an actor right now, I'd choose John Cena to play Fodder.
Alright. Now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Oh, man. I mean, that's a good question. Three people that would be in the movie. I mean, EC3 would have to be in the movie. And just as a joke, I'm going to say that Kurgan would have to play EC3. And then, because he gets ripped a lot for that online. And then I would have, oh man. I mean, I would have to have somebody play my father. So I don't know who the actors would be, but I mean, I would say EC3. I would have my dad, and I have to have my mom in the movie.
All right, and we could leave that up to casting as well.
There you go.
All right. And it's sounding like a great movie, a blockbuster, and you can pre-order the tickets now. All right, on to a controversial subject: pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
My wife loves it. I don't love it.
Oh, so you are anti-pineapple?
I don't like pineapples, so I would. Yeah, I don't like pineapples, so that my wife loves pineapples. She can eat one pineapple every 2 days. So, dead ass. I mean, so the pineapple on the pizza would definitely be her thing for sure.
Gotcha. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything about Pokemon.
So
I'll let you choose that for me, because I don't know.
Well, the default answer is just Pikachu at this point.
Yes, then that's what I'll go with. Shout out to Pikachu.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
I don't. Give it to me.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. 'Cause a Doug can't spell.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Right on.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers, trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
Shout out to Tracy Smothers, man, for sure.
Hell yeah. Now, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
I mean, I could. I mean, I've wrestled a broomstick before, so, it can be done. I believe so. I mean, they say if you can wrestle a broomstick, you can wrestle anybody. So that's what I was always told. So, yes, I can wrestle a Rock.
Alright, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
See, I mean, he's a total psycho too, so,
yes.
I mean, I feel him.
And unfortunately, he did not win that match either.
That sucks.
Alright, on a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, man, I mean, just continuing to elevate, man. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it, man. Just continuing to elevate and, step my game up to the next level. So, I mean, where that takes me, I don't know. But I know that that's going to happen.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Oh, I mean, just go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Psycho Boy Fodder, man. I mean, there's tons of matches up there. I got matches with Matt Sydal, Heath, Ace Austin, Moose, Madman Fulton. I worked Zach Gowen his retirement match. That's on there. There's tons of mixed tags. I mean, man, anything you want to see from me, go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Psycho Boy Fodder, and There will be tons of free matches on there, tons of promos. I mean, there's material on there to watch for days.
All right, and you don't have to go looking for his YouTube. It will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. And you could, after this interview, binge all the matches. For the ones that you have seen, want to re-see after this interview.
There you go.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Bret Hart.
Worst wrestler.
Duke the Dumpster Drozy.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Bret Hart.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh, I would say Diesel. I love Diesel's music.
Alright. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Alive.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast.
Ah, there you go.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Fruit.
That is correct. It has seeds. Tomato logic.
Boom.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I mean, I always say whatever makes you comfortable. Because if you've ever been to a bodybuilding show, the trunks to ass ratio sometimes is non-existent. So that is not something that would throw me off.
All right. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, never.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for having me, buddy.
And once again, where can we find all things Psycho Boy on social media?
Hit up our merch store at psycholoveWrestling.bigcartel.com. You can follow me at LOKEYS910. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Snapchat, anything you can think of. Hit up the YouTube, youtube.com/PsychoBoyFodder, and binge watch all my matches. And I guess we'll see you next time. And you can check me out right here on Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hell yeah. And every Wednesday on NWA, right?
NWA is airing on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, my bad. 6:05.
Yeah. There you go, yeah.
And you don't have to go typing it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
There you go.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us every Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Let's go.
For our very special guest, Psycho Boy Fodder, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I am James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.